Alright guys, before we proceed, I would suggest that you go to the Galaxy Store and from here, download and install the Expert Raw Camera app. So this is an advanced version of the camera app and it's got a couple of extra niche features that you guys are gonna love. And Samsung has recently updated this and now there is a new feature called the ND filter, which is also known as a neutral density filter. So basically, ND filter is meant to reduce the amount of light going into your camera lens. And keep in mind that this is independent of your shutter speed. So using this ND filter will allow you to take long exposure shots even during bright sunlight. Now, I'm not sure how Samsung is implementing the ND filter because as far as I know, it's a physical filter that you install in front of your camera lens to block light. And I've got one from Kodak and it looks something like this. And you screw this in front of your camera lens and it reduces the amount of light going into the camera lens so that you can take photos with slow shutter speed even during bright sunlight, which allows you to take creative photos. Now it's quite obvious that the S23 Ultra does not have a physical ND filter, so I'm guessing Samsung is implementing the ND filter through software. So when you are using this, you won't have fast shutter speeds available. But the idea is the same to reduce the amount of light going into the camera. So yeah, if you are into creative photography, I think it's a nice feature to have. Now, once again, you want to head on into the Galaxy Store and this time download the Camera Assistant add-on. And this is gonna unlock a lot of amazing features that are usually not available. Now, this is not a niche feature, but if you haven't already, start by switching on the 2x crop zoom shortcut. So this is gonna add a dedicated 2x zoom option in the camera. Now, you might be curious because the S23 Ultra does not have a dedicated 2x zoom camera. So how does this work? Well, it works by taking photos with the 200 megapixel camera. So what's happening is that the phone is cropping the photo that is coming in from the high resolution sensor. And because the pixel count is so high, the photo looks as good as if it was taken with an actual telephoto lens. Now, I've done a quality comparison and my conclusion is that this does not affect the quality of your photos in any way possible. So feel free to use the 2x telephoto option whenever you feel like it. So you guys already know that the S23 Ultra has 4 cameras on its back. The ultra wide, main camera, 10x telephoto and the 3x telephoto lens. But sometimes you might have noticed that when you select the telephoto lenses, the phone actually uses the main or the 3x telephoto camera. Now take a look at these two photos. They were taken with the S23 Ultra in the night mode at the 10x zoom level with the phone mounted on a tripod. But for some odd reason, this photo appears to be of much higher quality. Meanwhile, the other one looks pixelated. So why is that? Well, this is because the lower quality photo has been taken with the 3x zoom lens even though we had the 10x zoom level selected. So it's a photo taken with the 3x telephoto camera which has been cropped to make it look as if it is a 10x zoomed in photo. And this switch between the cameras happens automatically and usually it will happen when you take photos in low light. So to demonstrate, let's switch over to the 10x telephoto camera. Now logically you might think that the phone is actually using the 10x telephoto camera, but it's actually not. It's using the 3x telephoto camera and I can prove that by covering up the 3x telephoto lens. So there you go. This experiment shows you the phone is using the 3x telephoto camera instead of the 10x even though we have got the 10x zoom level selected. This is actually a great feature of the camera because it will automatically optimize and pick the lens to prioritize the picture quality. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work properly. So thankfully, we can change how this works through the Camera Assistant add-on. And the camera settings should allow you to access the Camera Assistant. So there it is. And here you want to switch off the auto lens switching. And that's it. So with this setting switched off, the phone is always going to use the camera that you select and it's not going to auto switch between them, doesn't matter what the condition is. So even if you're taking photos in low light, it will use the camera that you select. Like right now, it is actually using the 10 times telephoto camera instead of 3 times. And once again, we can cross-check by keeping our finger on the lens. So there you go. So this gives you more control over the phone's camera, which is something that I like. However, keep in mind that forcing the phone to use the 10 times telephoto camera in low light will result in a darker and noisier photo, which is quite obvious from these two. And this also had a slight green tint to it, which I've already removed. But you will end up with a slightly sharper and less pixelated photo. So having this setting on or off depends on what you're trying to capture. If you're trying to take a niche photo, then you might want to switch off the automatic lens switching. So it really depends on the scene. Now, did you know that you can use an external monitor with your Samsung Galaxy smartphone using only a single USB Type-C cable? So it's a single cable solution that handles a couple of things. Number one, it handles the power, so it keeps your phone charged. Number two, it carries the video and the sound signal together. So if you happen to play a video, the sound will actually come out of the monitor. Very useful if you want to watch movies through your phone on a bigger screen. And lastly, it will also enable touch if your monitor is a touchscreen. So that is awesome, right? And using an external monitor can be quite beneficial if you use your phone as a dedicated video camera, which I actually do. So the external monitor is actually an integral part of my video recording setup. Why? Because the phone is mounted in such a way that I cannot look at its screen, especially when I'm sitting on my chair. So that's where the external monitor can be very useful, and all of the controls are on the monitor, so I can control the phone directly from over here. And since the monitor also supplies power to the phone, I don't have to worry about running out of battery. So now you see how useful an external monitor really is. And not to mention that you can also run Samsung DeX complete with touch input, no docks or special cables required. So an external monitor can also be your productivity tool. And if you are wondering, the monitor that I'm using is from ViewSonic and the model is TD1655. It's a 15-inch USB Type-C portable touchscreen monitor. Oh, and by the way, this being a portable monitor means that you can power this off the phone's battery. So even if we unplug the USB cable supplying power to the monitor and the phone, it will automatically switch over to the phone's battery. And this can be extremely useful when you don't have an external USB power source available. And this is something that I regularly use while filming videos because I don't always have a USB power source available. So it's not something that's there just for the sake of being there. It's actually an extremely useful feature. Now what do you do if your monitor does not support USB Type-C input? Well, then you'll need one of these USB Type-C to HDMI adapters. And using this, you'll be able to connect to pretty much any display or a projector which has an HDMI input. And these adapters are quite cheap and are easily available. And because the adapter has a USB Type-A port, you can plug in and use a standard PC mouse with Samsung DeX. And it will even keep your phone charged because you can connect your charger through this. So yeah, it's a nice little gadget to have. Now coming back to the camera assistant, at the end you will notice an option which says clean preview over HDMI displays. And this is quite a niche option because enabling this will hide the camera UI on the external display, giving you a clean video feed. And sometimes this can be useful to figure out if the frame is in focus or not, because usually the shutter button and the camera UI is gonna block things that are on the right side of the display. And this is also quite useful if you want to use your phone as a video capture device for your PC, which is another niche application. So we're using an HDMI to USB capture card to capture the video feed coming in from the phone. Basically, this allows you to use the phone as a high-end webcam. And the possibilities are endless. You can even start a gaming live stream and have your face in it. And it barely took about a minute to set this up using the GeForce Experience. But feel free to use the software of your choice. So yeah, clean preview over HDMI is super useful. So I think everyone knows that there is a dedicated night mode on Samsung smartphones, which helps you take good quality photos in low light. And you'll also notice the number of seconds the exposure is gonna last. And here's a tip, you can tap on this and select max to increase the amount of seconds the exposure is gonna last. Now here is a hidden feature that many people don't know. If you want better quality low light photos, then you can increase the exposure even more by using a tripod stand. Because the phone automatically senses that it is on a tripod and it will automatically increase the maximum exposure. It is showing us 19 seconds for this scene because there is lots of ambient light, but in almost complete darkness it goes up to 30 seconds. The end result of long exposure shots is that you get razor sharp, high quality low light photo. It also works with the telephoto camera, but unfortunately for the telephoto cameras, the maximum exposure that you get is 5 seconds in the night mode even if you use a tripod stand. But that is more than enough to get a decent quality photo. So take a look, that looks beautiful. The Galaxy S23 Ultra can record videos in 8K at 30 FPS. And to put things in perspective, that is 16 times the number of pixels as with Full HD. And once again, this is quite a niche feature. Very few phones in the market can record videos in 8K at 30 FPS. Now, I don't really recommend recording in 8K unless you have an 8K television to view these videos on. However, one big advantage of recording in 8K is that you can extract 33 megapixel high resolution photos from the 8K video. And it's very easy to do that. Let me show you how. So go into the gallery and select the 8K video that you want to extract the still image from. Navigate to the part of the video from which you want to extract the still image. Pause the video and press on this button. And this will extract a full resolution 33 megapixel still image from the 8K video. And the phone will save the extracted still photo in a folder called video capture. Here it is. And holy moly, check out that resolution, 7680 into 4320. That is 8K. And this is such a high resolution photo that you can zoom in all the way without having any pixelation or distortion. That is impressive. Alright, so let's end the video here, and once again, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And if you have found the video to be helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and do check out the other videos on Samsung devices. And I'm gonna see you guys next week. This is Tech Guy Charlie, signing off.